Hello, good morning. Welcome in to another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. It is Thursday, July 10th, year of our Lord 2025. Sandra, I saw you in there saying happy Friday. Maybe you're in a different time zone. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but today is Thursday. Still got 2 days left in the week.
What time zone is 16 hours ahead?
I don't know. Isn't there like somewhere
Australia?
in the Asian area that is like when we drop the ball, they're already way
I think
dropping it
maybe Australia. Japan market open was like, I don't know, 10:30, 11:30. It was impossible.
at night
Yeah. Like after dinner when
of
you're all like
today.
comfy and like in bed, you're like, all right, got to trade.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you know what? Today's Thursday, guys. All right, welcome into another episode. Appreciate you guys being here. I had a great session last night for a little Wine Wednesday. You can always check those out again by going to playlist under our Clover Trading YouTube channel. It's a great watch if you got an hour, hour and a half, 2 hour long drive, put a few together. Different style of education, kind of fun, just answering your guys' questions, a smorgasbord of questions, if you will. Having a good time, having some laughs. So you can always rewatch those over on the page if you're ever thinking about joining Clover Trading and come learning from the guys over here, me, Huddie, and Kyle. You could go to clovertrading.io and get in the room, take a look at our alerts, our watch list, our webinars, our video lessons, and see if it's right for you. But yeah, wrapping up another week, kind of just inching our way through July here, only the 10th. Kind of a weird setup where we had a few days last week and then like 3 5-day weeks and then a 4-day week, I think, July. So still working our way into the meat of the middle of it, but I hope you guys are doing great out there. Talked a lot about the current market conditions right now last night on Wine Wednesday. So still just sticking to trying to take as few as trades as possible, focus on the best of the best, and let the chips fall where they may. You know what I'm saying?
I like chips.
You like chips. I like chips. Warren's in here. Sandre, Wing Poon, Mash for Fun, Cameron, Technics, Greg, Jack, IA, Fernando. Good morning. Good morning. Go ahead, throw a like on that like board. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're live every day the market is open doing this. And we post long form content videos every single week as well. And yeah, ask some questions because once we finish up with the gappers this morning, we'll talk through any questions, any tickers that you guys bring up. That's pretty much it. You want to hop right into it, Steve?
Yeah.
Let's hop right into it while we're here. The biggest gapper of the day is BTCM, which reminds me of BTCS. Its bit name is Bit Mining. Information technology services industry with a 15 million float. It's a leading cryptocurrency mining enterprise with a long-term strategy to create value across the cryptocurrency industry. 2 hours ago, they expanded into the Solana ecosystem. Gosh, if you were there last night, you know that we learned a lot of new buzzwords, a lot of new fart coins. But what does it mean to expand into the Solana ecosystem? How does
You're
one know where
asking,
that ecosystem is?
yeah, I don't know anything about ecosystems.
Let's just click on it. Maybe there's more information here. Um, I'm getting more confused. All right. All right. They will build a robust soul treasury as a core pillar of its strategic shift. To support its Solana-focused strategy, the company plans to raise between $200 and $300 million in phases based on market conditions and capital availability. Proceeds will be used to accumulate SOL tokens. So this is a Bitcoin treasury play with Solana ecosystem. They have negative 3.5 months of cash. Like I said, 15 million float. Anything here dilution-wise that we should be aware of?
Or BTCM.
Yep, the one we're talking about.
Okay, okay. I'm with you.
Is there any dilution for?
I gotta look.
Uh,
Not that I see. Hang on. Preliminary looks are fine. Oh, maybe something here. It's a company out of Hong Kong. That's never good. Um, Yeah, they have some dilution that's been registered. What does dilution tracker say? It
I
looks to be
see
kind of like a lot
some.
that's come and gone in the past year.
Yeah, I see
Like
some
SPY.
stuff that has an exercise price of 6 and 660 from 2022. And I see an ATM from November of last year for 7.2 million left on it from HC Wainwright. And the ATM is limited by the baby shelf.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much dilution they actually have, like that's in play, but because I don't have dilution tracker right now.
Okay. Going back on this chart, and not a ton of volatility, has had its peaks and had its valleys, been pretty much basing around the $2 area for the past couple of years. Let's see if there's any spikages. So it was getting a lot better in 2021. Since then, has been just fading off. Not a ton of volume over the past few years as well. Especially this year, literally no days where we're doing more than like not even 100K volume. Great volume today already at 70 million on a kind of median price of like $6 or $7, as high as the tens this morning, but near pre-market lows from 7 a.m. on, and is just kind of in this pretty big fade right now. Still up 158%, but was as high as like $11 and is now down in the sixes, so already like 40% off of those highs from pre-market. What do you make here? Not the lowest float in the world. Good volume this morning. Kind of fits into the theme of the past few months with Bitcoin Treasury stuff, but it is pretty far off those highs from pre-market.
Looks like they diluted the crap out of their stock since 2022. Uh, you're right, there is a 7.2 million ATM. I think that's still active on this thing. So maybe an opportunity for them to tap that, but this it's the Bitcoin treasury news, right? So for me personally, it's kind of a big avoid. To the short side, I feel like you're gonna get squeezed. They've been very hard to short. And to the long side, I mean, I don't know, feels a bit late, and you can always, wait for this to kind of set up and turn into a breakout of sorts or whatever the pattern is, and be a part of like a move that, if this is going to have multiple legs, like there's no rush to be in it, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't really see anything too predictable here. There's nothing on the daily chart that gives me any reason that it should spike or should fail. Um, I'd love to go through all the anything with Treasury news and just see the hit rate on it in terms of open price versus closing price on day one. Um, but I feel like it's just kind of if the pieces of the puzzle align, you get a pretty phenomenal move, and if not, they're not all that strong. And so far, quite weak here after its initial strength. Not really a former runner, not really a runner at all to really base it off of. So, not really the lowest float, kind of in the medium price range. I just kind of look at this like we'll see what it does, and I'll throw it on a list if it holds up, and if not, wouldn't be surprised to see this fade off.
Throw it on a list.
Throw it on a list. Next biggest gap of the day is SAFX, XCF Global. All right, let's go here. XCF Global out of the United States, specialty chemicals company with a 34 million float. 2 days ago, they reported production of renewable fuels during ramp-up process. Do you have any news that is more current to today?
This one was weird.
Yeah, I am seeing low across the board. They have
They're
negative
like
9 months
invest
of cash.
energy sector.
Huh?
They're it looks like they're investing plans to invest in billion its SAF production facilities. Big
Okay.
plan.
You're cutting out a bit. I don't know if it's my end or yours.
And I just said big plans for the stock.
Okay. Negative 9.4 months of cash. That is a lot of not profitable months. So they could use some cash, but it doesn't look like they really have a ton of ways to do it. Fresh chart, recent SPAC, I think. down off its highs. You have this volume-esque day where it did 66 million on June 25th, set a high of 340, 339, and on similar volume already this morning have kind of tapped or have broken that area and now trying to support it. So maybe a world where you could call this kind of like a little multi-week breakout. You know, it did pretty much go right back to its base after spiking that day and didn't really hold up and do anything with it. But volume is going to be much bigger that day. Some would argue there's a lot of room overhead for this to run. 34 million floats, not the smallest, but that's kind of the line I would draw on my chart is, can't even zoom in enough. Right here, this 340 area, I'd probably draw my line there. You know, we're up, 134%, right around 130% at that level. Maybe if it's holding in the morning, just above, just below, and then kind of consolidates, there's room for it to run higher. But I don't really see a great sector here for what we're looking at in the market right now, and any great headline words, buzzwords in the headline. But yeah, this is kind of feels just like a safe gap or uptrending right now in terms of BTCM versus this one. This one's in an uptrend, making higher lows, moving higher where BTCM was kind of moving lower towards pre-market lows. Yeah, does this one scare you less as a gap and crap shorter? Interest you more? What's the thoughts?
The initial thought is like, I'm conflicted. I think my initial thought was that I wanted to short this one, but the more I look at like the freshness of this chart and the share structure, the bigger market cap that it has, I kind of like lean away from wanting to short these things. Not that I think it's gonna have the biggest success rate and the best breakout I've ever seen in my life, but I just don't want to force myself into a trade. And I do think like when you get to that 30, 40, 50 mil share structure, it just starts to not appeal to me as much. Uh, like, of course, this could just be a crappy SPAC and it could just like open up and fade all day. Like we've seen that so many times. Um, so it's one I'm probably gonna ignore, but I could see this just being nothing. I could see it holding the breakout level and going higher. Like I think I'm just gonna ignore it.
Yeah, decent volume already. Looks like it's going to be 100 mil plus today. We'll see what kind of volume's churning in that area. If it just straight up spikes out of the gate, or if it spends some time, maybe a little morning spike, then hold in the mid morning at that level. I don't like to jump into plays like this. Like I'm much more of a fan of like buying blindly the level on multi-day breakouts. But when it comes to these multi-week ones, I feel like I want to see it support. I want to see it hold around there on good volume. Because you still are, for the most part, trading a day one. It's just into resistance from a previous day. Next biggest gapper is an 89% gapper, CGTX, which is obviously Cognition Therapeutics. Actually, a really interesting little, looks like breakout there over the 63. We'll talk about that in a second. 55 million float biotech. Offering ability is low, but everything else is high. They have 1.6 months of cash left. Do you have any news fresh on this one? I have news 9 days ago on Alzheimer's study, but nothing recent. I guess that makes sense, though, because that would have started this run that we're talking about, and now we're just kind of gapping over that resistance. But it is a ton more volume than we've seen earlier in this run, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fresh PR. Anything?
Says Cognition Therapeutics completes end of phase 2 meeting with FDA for zervimesine Thursday, July 10th, 7:30. Held an end of phase 2 meeting with the FDA to discuss the results of phase 2. So they had an update today
Okay.
at 7:30.
What about their dilution?
Just kind of doing this as we go.
That's how we roll.
But they have a shelf from back in December 2022. They have ATMs from 2023 and March 2025. The March 2025 one would concern me a bit. Not without knowing how much is left on that, but 14 million it says.
Yeah, that's what I see. And they are struggling in the cash department. 1.6 months of cash left. Take a look at this daily chart. Let's see what date was that news on? 7/1. Okay, that would kind of align with the start of this move back here. Ran from the 30-cent area up towards 63. Consolidated for a couple days and is breaking these highs right here. Over 63 cents right now into $1. Got some big resistance overhead at this line, like 120s, 130. So yeah, kind of like a little breakout of over the 60-cent area into resistance in the 120s. So this kind of looks less of like a day one gapper and more of like a structured setup. I would anticipate, the volume already isn't like guaranteed to beat out this day. You never quite know when it comes to bag holders who's there, who's not, but people definitely use these lines on a chart as areas of resistance and areas of supply that they should expect stocks to struggle at. And that being, we're up 90% right now, so it would be up over 100% into that level, and up a lot already. Doesn't mean it can't break that and go higher, but that would be the concern on the long side for me. Maybe even looking at it like if we open sub dollar and then run into that area, maybe looking at like a shortened resistance with some behavioral tendencies that when this stock does get a lot of volume, it tends to fade all day. That last one topped out in the 120s, faded all the way back down to sub 60 cents. So like a 50% drop from the highs. So if that plays out again, I could see that being a lucrative idea, a short into that resistance if we were to open around in the 90s or $1 area, run straight up into the 120s, 130 area. Not really interested in a multi-month, multi-year breakout over that 130 area for me, because it'll be up a lot into that zone. And, stocks do have a tendency to hold around that dollar once they break it from the cheapest price range. But, yeah, not a ton of interest on the long side for me here.
No, I wouldn't long that. That's scary.
Any extra thoughts
I
on
think
it?
I think the thing that I'm most bearish on is that recent ATM from just back in March, right? Like March 2025. I don't think there's really been a big volume day since March 2025, so it's an opportunity for them to sell $14 million worth of an ATM into this, Alzheimer's curing $1 stock. Like it just that screams like penny stocking 101 to me. So I will have this one on short watch, but of course, gonna let it go as high as possible before wanting to be interested.
Okay. Yeah, making new highs or testing the highs as we speak right now. Pretty healthy pre-market. Just making higher lows and consolidationing a bit. All right. Let's see. I think that's all the biggest gappers of the day. You got SAFX, BTCM, CGTX. Kind of a plethora of different looks. Not any real low floats today. All kind of medium to high floats. Price ranges all kind of differ from the cheapies to the mids. 6, 3, and 1. And news is kind of all different. Something our tried and true treasury play, along with some biotechs. So we'll see how these gappers do today going into tomorrow. Let's see if we have any questions to answer. Then we'll get on out of here because Huddie has a webinar at 9:15, correct?
Correct.
Correct. TJ wants to know your brand of sunglasses.
I have no idea.
Are those sunglasses or red light glasses?
They're red light glasses. Laptop Legend. I got them from David Hanlon. He sent me a link.
Nice. Shout out Laptop Legend. Thank you for the link.
If it's TJ, you can ask me I'll send you a link.
It's not the same TJ, I don't think. If I'm thinking about the TJ that you're thinking about.
I think we're both thinking about the same TJ. It's not that TJ?
No. Warren says GNS gapping above the breakout. Are you kidding me? There's no. Gosh, I hate gross charts, man. News of share buyback. I'm watching for the breakout, but it needs better volume for its higher flow. Are you interested in a breakout? This would be one where my left brain and my right brain are kind of fighting because I was watching this one when it was setting up underneath the breakout level, and because it had, if I can find it, some resistance around the 150 area from before on big volume. And I kind of thought that double breakout would produce a move towards 2. So the one part of my brain's like, Dominic, you told yourself this year you were, as long as it fit a pattern, you were going to trade it. And then the other part of my brain's like, Dominic, you also know what good patterns look like. And this is a stock that faded off, failed, bounced back yesterday from 1 all the way to the breakout level. I probably just don't trade it or don't look at it. If it goes to 2, it goes to 2. But now it would be a move from $1 instead of a move from the 130s and 40s. And I think that just bites into your potential. Do I think a move towards 2 is possible? Yeah, but I probably should be focusing on breakouts where I think much higher is possible and then taking profits at more conservative spaces. So you're 100% right. It is gapping over the breakout level. 154 is your breakout level, but we'll see. I'm probably leaning 95%. Get this away from me. And then the 5% is like, if you're a robot and you have an algo that buys breakouts and there's no volume criteria, it probably buys this. Nikita says SafeX making reusable jet fuel. Okay, well that would be interesting. That would be useful, correct?
No.
You don't think reusable jet fuel would be useful?
I think that sounds like
a pipe dream.
Not great.
No, it
I
sounds
want my
good.
jets with fresh fuel.
Mateo says,
reuse fuel?
I don't know. That's what they're doing. They're working on it. They're answering. They're filling the void. That's why they're doing it. It's because the void is there. Nikita, no.
The need for reusable fuel.
Dude, everyone's been talking about it. You're missing. Do you live under a rock? Every conversation I have with like a relative or something, it's like, you know where they're at on that reusable jet fuel yet? And I'm like, no, I know that SafeX is working on it though. So yeah, they're working on it. Mateo says, any first green days on watch, Dom? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you exactly how you would know that. It's in my watch list.
I have a webinar.
Fernando says, Dom, yesterday fart coins and all that were bots. I feel like they weren't. Were they messing with us? I feel like that was real. No?
I have a webinar.
You have a webinar, but we're going through real quick. Jabril says, Proc, thoughts on running again? Last question. Gap, 13% gap up today. Did Kyle cover that, or do you know?
Yeah.
He did. If it holds up, then it becomes a breakout watch going forward. Yeah, yesterday was a green day, so maybe it goes red today. It has the first red day. I think Huddie's probably going to talk about that in his webinar right now, huh?
Maybe. Probably. Maybe.
All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow morning. Be on the lookout for a couple videos coming this weekend on the plays of this week and the plays going into next week. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate the likes. Only 35 today. If you want to hit it on your way out, get the number up towards 50. We would be happy about that. We'll be live again tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. for some Good Morning Nasdaq. And all you Clovers, head on over to the webinar page for Huddie's Market Open webinar right now.